We're live.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bella Fajardo Perez. I am the Educational Advisor for Wilson High School.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jose Lozano, and I'm the Educational Advisor for Roosevelt High School. And today we'll be talking about placement exams and early college programs. And without further ado, we'll be starting off with placement exams. So placement exams, these are tests that are designed to evaluate your pre-existing knowledge of a subject, which then determines the level most suitable for you to begin your coursework on that subject. So in short, placement exams will help you complete your major. And so it's important that you take these tests seriously because they will determine how quickly you will graduate. And remember, school is expensive, so graduating earlier or quicker is always best. But to get into it deeper and to give you an insight of what kind of placement tests we're referring to, we will start off with the CalState system. So the CalState system is the system that uses the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress, or it's also abbreviated as CASP, or it's also referred to as the Early Assessment Program or the EAP. And so this is essentially a test that's only a component of multiple measures. So multiple measures consider a range of a student's portfolio that will help them become eligible for the right English or level math class or other. But this CAPS test essentially will help you fulfill some of those requirements if you do well enough for the CAPS system. Now, the UC system offers different options depending on the test. So for instance, they have the analytical rate placement examination, or the AWPE. And so that is also a an option to multiple measure, meaning that if you take this test, it may help you satisfy some of the requirements to test into the right English or English class. Now, and by the same token, they also have other components that may help you fulfill this requirement. Now, let's say you're a student who is going into the STEM path field. Be careful because there also may be math placement tests, but that varies by major. And because it's a math placement test, there may be also multiple measures, meaning that another a way to fulfill this requirement beyond just a placement test. So make sure that you also refer to their website as well as the proper school you're going to make sure that the your previous scores or your previous portfolio of examinations will help you place into the right math class. Now, the one system that has made a lot of changes recently, and I want to make note of that, is the community college system. So in response to AB or Assembly Bill 705, ELAC and many other community colleges have already started to move away from standardized testing as the primary means of assessing students. So, for instance, something I found on the website was that as of January 2019, English and math classes, math assessment tests are no longer offered at ELAC or at most community colleges. So what they have instead done was implemented new English and math assessment process known as multiple measures. And once again, multiple measures could be a test like the CASP, could be your other things like your GPA, courseworks, and we'll touch the proper definition soon that might help you fulfill those requirements. Now, the one system that tends to vary frequently is private schools. But for the sake of an example, I put USC as our institution. And for them, I found it really tougher for students to find if they had the English test. But instead, I saw that it varies by the private university. But instead, I want you to look at your orientation because that's where it will indicate the completion steps for someone coming into the campus. And for instance, in this case, I was able to find in that specific section math placement and a chemistry placement. So make sure you explore your website frequently before applying to institutions because you don't want to be surprised with a bunch of exams that you may have to take based on the major that you applied to and are intending to graduate with. So as we move on, the placement test uh, were essentially mentioned multiple measures a lot. So in short, what happened was in this AB 705, which is a bill that was signed by the governor on October of 2017 and took effect January of 2018. This bill required that community college and districts or college maximize the probability that a student will enter and complete transfer level coursework in English and math within 1 year time frame and use in the placement of students into English and math courses or in one or more of the following. They'll take into consideration your high school coursework, your grades, and your GPA. So be very, very on top of your academics, because as this state bill just said, they're using a variety or a bunch of different aspects of your student portfolio to make sure that you guys are graduating in a timely manner. Remember what I said earlier, graduating quickly will help you save money at your institution. So it's never a bad thing to try to finish with these requirements sooner rather than later. But to give you a better insight, this CAS or this examination was essentially an effort put forth by the California Department of Education, which is in Sacramento, the Cal State system, and the California State Board of Education, which is elected officials. So you want to make sure that this was essentially a collaboration effort between all these entities that will assess students for college readiness in their junior year. So make sure that by the time you reach your junior year, you have, polished off any skills you felt were weak, so that you do really well in these examinations, and we get those standard level 3s and 4s that, as we will soon find out, mean a lot. For instance, when you to talk about more about the test, you'll see that the CAPS is just a fancy way of saying the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress. But in reality, the real examination is called the English Language Arts Literacy and Mathematics Test, or Smarter Balance Assessments. Now, for students who may have learning difficulties, there is on a California alternative assessment, um, but that's based on need. And for instance, the other two mentioned on to the left and right are the science component, which is known as the California Science Test. And if you have learning difficulties, there is a California alternative assessment for that. And for my English language learner students, there is a Spanish and reading language arts section, which will also help you place into certain classes. But the one that the systems primarily depend on is the middle one, which is the Smarter Balance Assessment Test. So make sure that for the English and math section, you perform, that you get some rest the day before, and that you frequently consult your high school teachers to help you prepare for this exam. Once you take this exam, to be transparent, you'll see your report come in the mail. You'll see something on the right, the left-hand side first, which will give you your really easy to read scores, which is, for instance, at Bella's case, which is our student here. She scored a 2025, and that's a level 2, which is a standard nearly met. And if we look underneath, we also see that Bella scored a 2600 for mathematics, which is also level 2, a standard nearly met. And as you move on to the right for both sections, you'll notice that it gives you your areas of performance and your basic score history. So it will tell you if you've taken the test more than once, because maybe you scored too low and you need to retake it. So make sure that you put your best foot forward. And in case you wanted a rubric of where these or how high you may have to score, on the right, I have included the second part of the page, which is also available on their website. So make sure you consult the California Department of Education, because they have all these available for you. But essentially, it'll give you this rubric right here where I've highlighted the red to indicate for English and the black to indicate for the mathematics section. So this will give you a breakdown of how high the scoring range is. And so this is where Bella was, and what we will intend for you to aim for is a standard 3 or higher, which is exceed, so that you guys move forward with your coursework. So multiple measures. As mentioned before on the assembly bill, it's essentially combining a bunch of various components of your student portfolio, whether that be the test score results from the CAS, the Smarter Balance test, the SAT, the AP test, the IB test you may take. It also includes high school grade point average, your mathematics GPA in specific as well, your high school and college coursework. So all combination of these three, or all these are what's called multiple measures, and fulfilling any one of these requirements um, based on the institution you're going to go to will help you place into the coursework that you need. So make sure you become familiar with the system. Make sure that you always know where you stand. And a good place to start is looking at your transcript, which will have a lot of this information available. Um, and as we move on, we have in the next three slides the rubrics that essentially are the Cal State component of how you can apply some of your portfolio into like seeing if you meet the requirements yet. So for instance, starting from the left to right, you'll see that we have a fulfillment requirement: enroll in GE, enroll in um, a GE supported class, meaning that you might have a seminar. And this one is a student that doesn't meet any of these requirements based on the rubrics here. Um, then you automatically will be placed in that class with additional support. Now, based on Bella's case, to use as an example, we'll see that as fulfillment required. She does not have, we don't know yet, so it's information omitted, but we don't know if she's placed into an AP test, and we don't know if she's actually completed a college level transfer course. So this section is not eligible for us to check off anything in order to fulfill the English requirement. So we have to make sure that we look at where it says CASP. So in this section, it does mention it. The one component we do have a Bella's portfolio to apply. And unfortunately, she doesn't meet any of the standard that are here, which is a level 4 or 3. Because if she did, then if she would have scored, let's say, for instance, a level 3, she would have the option to fulfill it if she had also completed an English class that was approved. So a combination of your coursework and how you scored on this test could help you fulfill this requirement. But for instance, one that trumps this, because it's 2, is if you scored a level 4. If you scored a level 4, this section is automatically completed, and it also gives you other methods in case that isn't the case. But because we don't know much about Bella, we can't apply any SAT scores she may have gotten, any ACT scores, or any other information like her GPA that may be factored in. So in Bella's case, she would either fall into enroll in supported English class or automatically into ESP. Because if you notice, they don't mention it, but this is a break off. So this is where she would have to see if she could place well one more time in an exam so that she fulfills the requirement, or she will just have to take this class. And I must let you know that testing into remedial classes, as you might hear, isn't something that is bad. It's something that makes sure that you guys are graduating on time, and it's intended for students who are experiencing learning difficulties. Sometimes you may just need an extra person to break down the information in a more one-on-one basis so that it's more personal and so that you don't feel the pressure of maybe asking in class. So this is a great way for you to get that special attention and actually build your foundation so that when you take your more critical classes, these are the things that don't hold you back. But I will let you explore these for the sake of time. There's also the STEM. So to be brief with this section, I've highlighted where in stars the differences. So for students who are going into STEM, just know that your requirements are a little more rigorous. As you'll see, for students who are non-STEM, they get added a couple more components. For instance, here for students who are non-STEM, they're allowed to have a standard met and 4 or more years of school requirements, meaning that the bar is dropped just a little lower because their majors aren't heavily focused on math or science. So be aware that depending on your major, you may add more rigor to your coursework, but that doesn't mean that it's not worth it. You're developing skills that you're going to need in the future, so make sure that you have this foundation. And to move forward, we have the ELAC application, and you'll notice that as I mentioned before, they also utilize now multiple measures. And so this essentially is combining what we've learned already. Is essentially if you earned a diploma, you pass the GED, obtain a proficiency certificate. So if the student meets the criteria above, then they are eligible to be placed into English and math courses based on high school coursework, high school grades, and high school GPA. So by graduating from high school in California in the state, then you're able to essentially fulfill the requirements based on just that. So make sure that you do well because at a community college, it's really competitive. It's probably the most accessible way to higher education, and I would highly recommend that you take a step further by taking your high school really serious because when you transition, a lot of these classes will be critical or really impacted, and you want to make sure that if you have an enrollment window really early that you can capitalize on that advantage and are able to register so that you're able to get that class out of the way and you may move forward with your education. But don't forget that you still must make sure that these assessments reach your institution. So talking to your counselor is very important. um, Make sure that you attend orientation so that you understand the what you're getting yourself into in at ELAC or any community college that you go to. And lastly, always communicate, like I said, with your counselor because they will be the ones that will guide you through the whole transferring options and discovering whether or not you want to go to a UC, Cal State, or private schools because there's different routes and coursework that you may take that may um, impact your uh, application process in the future. So make sure that you consult them so that all these multiple measures are reaching the right people and that you are putting yourself in the prime position. To move forward, we have the UC with the analytical placement test. So to give you a breakdown of their multiple measures, so beyond just taking the test and scoring well, what the analytical placement test also allows you to do is provide any of the following to be exempt and to essentially fulfill the requirements you place into the freshman level English. So in this instance, just to name a few, we have if you score 30 or better in the ACT English Language Arts, that is a requirement that will be automatically fulfilled because you've scored that high. Or let's say you got a 680 or better on the SAT reasoning test that was administered in January 2016. Or you got a 3 or higher in the AP test for English. And lastly, and but not the last one on the whole list, is 5 or more on the IB test. So a combination or just one of these will help you fulfill the analytical writing placement exam. So make sure that you know and you study for this exam. If not, if you haven't already fulfilled it in another way. But let's say you haven't fulfilled it and you need to take the analytical placement exam, make sure that you know that there is a fee. Some students may be eligible for a fee waiver, but make sure that you consult your educational advisor or counselors to confirm that. Um, but essentially what this test is a prose passage from anywhere from 700 to 1,000 words. It has 2 topics generally. It's either you read a passage and you're exclusively focusing on that and talking about that, or you are encouraged to draw upon personal knowledge and experience to answer a prompt. So make sure that uh, for the first one, you focus heavily on the reading passage, but for the second one, you're able to use a variety of examples and make sure that you keep them simple. You don't overwhelm yourself because this is only 1,000 words maximum, so you don't want to make sure you lose your reader in the process. Because 2 people read this, they score you from anywhere from a 3 to 4, and just as they give you the main point is that let's say both people score you a 4, then papers who composite scores are 8 and higher. I mean, it's a rubric from I believe 1 through 6, and so you want to score a minimum of 8 so that you satisfy the entry level requirement. But let's say you don't do well and you score 6 or below, then that means that you may be placed into a remedial class that will help you, you know, build that foundation, and you may move forward with your when you get to your like research classes and you have to provide more data driven papers. So definitely make sure that you do well for this exam. There are little mock pros passages that they have that you can check out, and I would highly recommend that. But the UC also has other components, like for math. So, or let's say you are unsure of what test you want to take. I went to UC Irvine, so I used the tool that I used my freshman year almost 10 years ago. And so this is essentially where you can filter your major on the left-hand side where it says what school is your major in. You can filter in, have you taken any kind of classes, whether that be calculus, chem, physics, or English, and you put your score. And you also have another option to fulfill in your SAT coursework. So it tells you a simple yes or no if you've got this score or higher, so that it predetermines, if you met the level English level writing entry exam. And lastly, it also asks if you've ever taken trig, pre-calculus, so that when you hit the tell me what test I need to take, it predetermines your English, math, or science class that you may have to, science test that you may have to fulfill or complete before getting to campus or while on campus. So make sure you consult your specific institution, because as you can see, this is a primary example of just UC Irvine. It may vary by campus, so just consult those individuals. And this brings me to my last slide. Here we have private universities, and you'll notice that the only placement tests that you'll normally will see are the ones like we just mentioned, either math or chemistry. But it must be known that they do also proctor national exams like the ACT, SAT, which will in turn, if you do well enough, will help you place into these courses. So I don't, even though this was an example for USC, I must say that this is a disclaimer that it all varies by campus. We can't assume that what one campus does is a same thing for all campuses across the board. So make sure that with time with the counselor, whether it be with us, your high school counselor, that you consult someone so that you know which requirements you've already met. And if not, where are areas that you can capitalize and improve on, so that when the next examination comes around, you are primed and are able to take on these classes. So without further ado, I'm gonna introduce again my colleague Paula, so she can get on with our next section. Okay.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Now we're going to move on to our early college programs. So what this is basically college programs that are able to help high school seniors transition to college with ease. So basically, we're going to have more examples on the next slides, but we are going to talk about these programs that help you with more or less like social and networking, as well as developments regarding your academic and educational careers. So again, these are going to be really cool not classes, but programs for incoming freshmen too. So that means people that are coming into college. So high school students can benefit from early college programs. Depending on which campus you decide to go to, it does vary. So not all campuses have the same thing. Sometimes they have something similar, but their name could be different. So let's move on to the next slide, and we'll discuss a little bit more. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about EOP and EOPS. So EOP is the Educational Opportunity Program. So what it is, it's a program dedicated to serving first-generation, historically low-income students by providing access and equity to higher education. So what this program is more of a program that you do have to apply for. So it won't be just like, you just walk in, ask to the office and ask like, oh, hey, I want to be part of this program. You would actually be able to do it when you apply to your Cal States. So it is part of that application. So when you're a high school senior, you could apply to it. And it is open between October the 1st to the 30th to apply to EOP. So as educational advisors, we'll be helping you out with the application process if you do want to join. It's a really good program, especially as a freshman coming into college, because you do get academic counseling, free academic tutoring, and even EOP grants. So grants is free money that you could use towards your education. So with the EOP application, you do need 2 names and letters of recommendation. So basically 2 letters of recs. That could be your college, well, not your college, but your counselor, teachers. It could even be one of us as well, depending how well we know you. But try to get letters of rec from people that are really familiar with your work ethic and education. It could even be coaches if you do have, if you are a part of sport. And you do need to answer certain questions that the EOP application does require. And again, we as education advisors, we could help you out by examining those questions, see how you're answering them, and so on. So EOPS is Extended Opportunities Program and Services. So it is a state-funded program. It's different from EOP because EOP, you actually have to apply to it. It's admission-based. EOPS, you have to somewhat qualify for it as well from what I remember, but it is more open for you to do so. And it's also more or less seen in the community college level. So EOPS, if you do go to like ELAC, Santa Monica College, Cerritos College, they do offer that specific program. And some benefits of that program would include academic and career and personal counseling, as well as priority registration. So that means that you could actually apply to your classes sooner. They also have one-on-one tutoring, college field trips, as well as fee waivers. So when you transfer to Cal State or UC, sometimes you don't have to pay that application fee, and so on. So there's going to be a lot of benefits to either of the programs. So now we're going to move on to the next slides and talk about a little bit more of the specific early start programs. So for the Cal States, we have the first one as Cal State Long Beach. So they do have an EOP Summer Bridge program, short for SBP. So it allows first-time freshmen students to experience the Cal State Long Beach environment prior to attending in the fall, and as well as give them a better awareness of their college / academic coursework, different enrichment activities, opportunities to build relationship and network with students, faculty, and staff. So it is mandatory for all EOP freshmen to either do a residential summer bridge program or commuter summer bridge program. So what's the difference between both? Residential is that you're going to be staying on the Cal State Long Beach campus, so in the dorms. And commuter, that just means that you're going to be driving from your house to the school. So you're going to commute back and forth. It just really depends on what best is for you. I do know that a lot of students want to, stay on the campus. So it could also be that you have to apply earlier to see if you get the residential summer bridge part of it. But you would have to attend either one to be a part of the Cal State Long Beach EOP program. And you could also check out more on their website. For the Cal State Pomona, they do have a summer bridge program. It is 5 weeks, so 3 weeks residential, 2 weeks commuter, meaning that you would be staying in their dorms for 3 weeks and you would be commuting for the rest of the 2 weeks. And again, it's a summer transition program, so that's supposed to help you transition better from your high school to college. It's really cool because it is beneficial for you. And for the Cal State Pomona, Cal Poly Pomona, it is free. So that's a really big deal. As well as for Cal State Long Beach, I believe I read that it was free as well, as long as you are a freshman. For Cal State Dominguez Hills, we have a summer bridge program as well. It is 6 weeks, and that should be completed before the fall starts. And it's supposed to be a program that enriches your or strengthens your English and math skills. So it's really cool because for this specific one, you would be taking math or English courses in the summer. So you would be getting college credit already ahead before you officially start in the fall. So that all these credits that you would do, depending on which program you choose and, the Cal State, but they tend to go towards your general education / your major. So again, it could even help you graduate early. So now we're going to look at the UCs. So for the UCs, we have UCLA, UC Santa Barbara, and UCI. So all of these are similar to like what I mentioned about the Cal States, meaning that they're designed specifically for incoming first-year students to start, who seeks Head Start advantages. So meaning like, you know, getting your classes ahead of time, getting early, well not early, but getting more college credit, getting advantage in meeting other students, meeting other faculty, getting familiar with the campus itself. So for Cal State, not Cal State, UCLA, we have the College Summer Institute. So again, it's designed for first-year students. And participants would live on campus with fellow incoming students with similar objectives. So ultimately, what this seems to be is like you create long life friendships as well as network while taking courses that satisfy the degree requirements depending on what you're majoring in. And all of the participants will complete a minimum of 2 courses that are offered. So again, it's ultimately to help you transition smoothly into college. UC Santa Barbara has something similar called UC Santa Barbara's Freshman Summer Start Program. This one's 6 weeks and designed for admitted freshmen to get a head start on work. And students in this particular program do have to enroll to 7 to 13 units and receive college course credit towards their general education or pre-major requirements. UCI has something called the Freshman Summer Bridge, which is 6 weeks academic and residential program. So that means that you would be taking classes and living on their campus. And it's offered under the umbrella of Freshman Summer Edge program. So again, all of these, what they all have in common is that ultimately it's an early college program that helps you with getting your units or / credits ahead of time, as well as getting to know the campus and building friendships with other peers that are taking the same classes and same program as you are. So if we move on to the next slide. So now community colleges. So community colleges have something similar, but they're sent to be a little bit more like commuter based. They're not really residential. So Cerritos College, for example, has the EOP Summer Bridge program. That's 6 weeks. For this one, you would have to drive back and forth just because community colleges tend to be commuter schools. And it is, again, to prepare you for your fall and the rest of your college career. And it really just depends on, depending what community college you go to, like when are they offered, what times they offered. For Cerritos College, they're offered Monday through Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 12. So yeah, that really just depends. And for Cerritos College, they do have a cohort model, which means that both classes that you're going to be attending, usually they're math and English, you would be attending with the same group of students. So the same students you have in your English class, you would have in your math class. And you could check that out on their website. Pasadena City College has something called the First Year Pathway program that helps high school students transition to college more smoothly and be successful academically. So before you begin your time at Pasadena City College, you would attend a 1-week summer jam where you will study in a friendly environment, learn how to prepare well for your tests, create networks of friends to support you during your first year in college. So again, you could check that out on their website. But wherever you go, it's really important to try to find one of these programs, just because ultimately it will help you with your success and your time being at the college, and could overall help your experience be better. And lastly, we're going to move on to programs for high school students that you could benefit right now if you are a freshman, or if you are sophomore or junior, or an incoming senior. So we do have at most schools, most high schools around, something called the high school concurrent enrollment. So this type of program allows high school students to take college classes at a college campus or at their own high school for college credit. So I know a local one for at least Wilson High School would be ELAC, and this is offered through the College Corner or the College Center, depending on how you guys call it at your high school. you could go to the College Corner and ask for an application to be filled out. For Wilson High School, they do actually have some teachers come in from ELAC to teach high school students. So again, this is to get you ahead of the game, ahead of, before you even officially start college, you could actually get your college credit. It's a really good benefit just because you will be already with some college credits under your belt. And again, might prompt you to graduate early, which is always an advantage. Cal State LA has something called the Early Entrance Program, EEP for short. And it's a unique educational program that is specifically designed for young, highly gifted students to enroll in college as full-time students. This program allows qualified students as young as 12 years of age the opportunity to excel at the university level. So if you want to know more about that, you would have to go on their website, but the program has students that must be under the age of 16 by June 1st when they do apply. So there is different requirements to be a part of the program. So definitely check it out and see if you qualify to be a part of it. And that comes to our end of our presentation. Thank you for joining us. Do you have anything to add, Jose?
Yes. Before you go, I do have to make an announcement. Attached to this video, you'll find to do our evaluation. So be on the lookout for an email or on our YouTube link to look at the description below to fulfill it out. And as a second announcement, we have Hermanos Unidos from UC Santa Barbara, which have invited you guys on August 17th to participate in a panel. So this panel is supposed to be for hermanos who are gonna talk about their experience in high school, their transition to college, and give you advice and tips if you decide to go to either a UC, for instance, if you want to ask those kinds of questions, or specifically questions about how the campus life is at UC Santa Barbara. So don't be sure not to miss out, and be on the lookout to at your email, because that's where we'll be sending the Zoom link as well as the time when we get closer to the date. And without further ado, thank you so much, and yeah, hope to see you in our next workshop.
Bye.
Bye.